You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
9 will be closed for some time. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. You see him host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Wednesday, September 11, 2024. I'm your host, Gary Harris. Chase Brumfeld is alongside, manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. Before we go any further, this is a noteworthy date for a couple of reasons. First of all, it is the 23rd year since our anniversary of the 9/11 attacks on our country. 23 years ago, time flies, September 11, 2001, our country was attacked. So we want to go ahead and share our, condolences and prayers for people that were impacted by that, and just for the date itself, for what it means when we were under attack. Also, this date back in 1913, Coach Paul William Bryant, better known as Bear Bryant, was born on this date in Morro Bottom, Arkansas in 1913. This would have been his 111th birthday. The Bear, of course, always going to be an icon in this part of the country, and he is missed on his birthday. So September 11, a special date for a couple of reasons. All right, glad you're with us this morning. We'll tell you what we've got on tap here in just a second. But first, I need to let you know this hour of the Gary Harris Show being brought to you, as always, by Alabama Credit Union. Member-owned and not-for-profit. It really is just a better way of banking, and I encourage you to find out much more about Alabama Credit Union. Discover the heart and soul of our member-owned credit union, empowering our members, enriching our community. Alabama Credit Union is more than just a financial institution. It's a member-owned community deeply rooted in rich historical values. Our central focus is empowering members, driving us to positively impact the community through financial success. Find out more at alabamacu.com. That's alabamacu.com, or get by and see them at one of their many locations around the state of Alabama, including their main office in Tuscaloosa. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money and put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, today's lineup, we'll talk a lot of football. Obviously, we've got Tyler Booker among the players that met with the media yesterday. Always a fun person to listen to, the Alabama offensive lineman, offensive guard, but he played left tackle last game, so he's a versatile guy on that front. He'll talk about the upcoming matchup with Wisconsin. And at 9:30, Matt Coulter on NASCAR. As Matt gets a win, he picked Joey Logano, and I went with his teammate Blaney, and they finished 1-3 at Atlanta as the playoffs are underway. And then at 10:30, Larry the Music Man. We're going to move him up to Wednesdays. Fridays, I'm going to be going back to Innisfree, and love being at Innisfree on Fridays at the Free. But we have a lot going on for me and for Chase on Fridays, with me there and him here running a contest, our Alabama football trivia contest with T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery, University Mall, SEC point spread predictions, live on location, people coming in and out. And it's just kind of hard to, I know I do other guests too, but for the music segment where we're, taking calls sometimes as well, it's just going to be easier to do that segment when I'm in studio. So it's going to work out well for Larry the Music Man today from over in Atlanta. He'll join us at 10:30 talking the origins of Southern rock and roll, blues, just the entire music scene. That's coming up at 10:30, so we're looking forward to that. Also, your phone calls are welcome on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. 205-342-9904 is the number, 205-342-9904. We would love to hear from you this morning, so go ahead and give us a call and we'll put you through. Bama football, as we said, getting ready for the first road trip of the season. The Tide will leave on Friday and fly up to Madison and play that game early on Saturday. It's 11 a.m. Central Time kick. It's the big noon game on Fox. So Fox pregame will be there live as well. Excuse me, going to be a lot of excitement and pageantry. Alabama, though, as we talked about yesterday, I haven't checked it since yesterday, but they were a 15.5-point favorite. So, the expectation is that Alabama is going to win the game, but it won't be easy. This is a well-coached team, disciplined. They have not looked great. Wisconsin has it in their first 2 games, but I guarantee you they're sitting there ready for Alabama on Saturday. So we'll talk more about that. But as I said, we'll have guests on NASCAR and on music today as well. Braves win last night, big 12-0 over the Nats. Mets lose to the Blue Jays 6-2. So the Braves are now back tied for that final wild card spot. That looks like it's going to go right down to the wire. And, we'll continue to keep an eye on the Braves as we go through the rest of the season, which is just a few weeks away from ending and getting into the playoffs. All right now, let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. And Tom is going to lead us off. Good morning, Tom.
Gary, good morning. Thanks for letting me call.
Sir. Yes, sir.
I got 3 things I want to dive into, and I won't I try not to be too long. First of all, the BMO article about Peyton Thorne, I found that to be hilarious, and that somebody tried to get him to BMO their gambling money back. Did you find that to be the most hilarious
thing you ever heard of? And also
somebody has a great sense of humor, but I've got news for you. Every damn body else don't have it.
He pointed out, too, that, hey, when we do cover, why don't somebody send me some of their winnings?
I know it. That's what made it funny to me, because he got in there and got both ways took care of. I love that. And I thought it was really funny that somebody did that, don't you?
Yeah, and he's got a good sense of humor about it. I mean, we talked about the tough game that Wilkin Formby had for Alabama at right tackle. Same thing for Peyton Thorne at quarterback. And listen, I understand it's a new time. A lot of these guys are getting paid. Many of them are still teenagers. Some of them aren't. We know we got a lot of 20, and Peyton Thorne's an older guy. We know we got a lot of 24, 25-year-old guys playing college football now. By the time you're in your mid-20s, you're grown men. But still, for the most part, these are
I got it. Yeah,
young men, and the way that we frame them as football players, we sometimes I think forget that they've got lives outside of football. They got families, they got friends, and some of them, some of the abuse they have to take on social media can be a little bit over the top. But you're right. But he found some humor in it, and you got to give the kid credit.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was funny, and I'd like to bring it up.
Yeah.
As being at a time when people do attack people on a personal level, and I'm against that. I don't care who it is or what game they're playing or who they play for. I'm not for that. That's stupid, and I don't condone it. But I do. I'm glad that somebody could do something that brought humor to a situation that everybody else has all been out of freaking shape on.
Yeah, but, good for Peyton, like we're saying, because listen, man, he's under a ton of
good for the people that sent a request for their money back. I thought that was funny as well.
Funny all the way around, and he's handling it so well though, because he's under a ton of pressure right now. He's going to go out there in that game against New Mexico with the realization that if he struggles, he's probably going to lose his job. So
it may be. That's sports, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably to that point, though. So he seems to be keeping good sense of humor about it. And from what I've seen of the young man, I like him. I hope he has a good game on Saturday.
I do too. I really enjoy. I'll tell you something else, though. I'm not going to go into that till another time. We'll get into that. But second thing I wanted to do was Wyatt wrote an article on the website, and I don't know what he's thinking. I love Wyatt and Chase. Don't get me wrong. I really like their work. I appreciate them, everything they do. But freaking Wyatt comes out here and he says the basketball team scrimmage is a SEC championship game. What's he trying to do with rat poison in September on basketball?
I haven't read it yet, but it sounds like
your ass up and get with the program, son.
Sounds like I might have to go read that one.
Yeah, and White's trying to. I mean, he's very intelligent. I love his work, but he could have done anything but come out with that rat poison.
Well, speaking of basketball, because I was going to mention it, but since you've already brought it up, Tom, Alabama gets its first commit for the 2025 class yesterday. Amari Allen, a 6'7" swing player, out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, who, very good player and fits the Alabama blueprint in that he can play multiple positions. He can shoot the three. He can also defend, run the floor. Yeah, just the recruiting that's going on.
I don't know if it was you or Drew. Somebody posted a video on Tider Insider, and I was looking at it kind of like a highlight thing of him. Smooth as freaking silk when he's got the ball in his hand.
Yeah, he's smooth. And I'm trying to think for a second here. It was Drew. I'm pretty sure it was Drew that did that. Yeah, because I think Rodney had mentioned him on Tider Insider TV last night.
It was on Tider Insider, but I didn't know who posted.
Yeah, that Drew had written up a little synopsis, and I guess they posted a video of Amari Allen. That's right.
Good read.
Exactly.
It was a good read, too, followed up with a video, and I commend him and Rodney for their basketball aptitude. But I enjoyed that very much, and I forgot the third thing I wanted to talk about.
No, well, think about it. Think about it. And I'm glad we brought up Amari Allen because I may try to get Jordan Harper on, basketball analyst at Rivals, and I don't have him scheduled, but I may see if he can jump on here at 10 o'clock and talk about Amari Allen a little bit. So I'm glad you
Not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea, and I appreciate it. I really enjoy the show.
Thank you, Tom.
See you.
All right, it is 9:13, and let's go ahead since Philip is on hold. We got time in this first segment. We don't have to get right to the break. Let's go ahead and get Philip on the on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning. Good morning, Gary. I love listening to Tom. I've got a quick thing for you. Speaking of rat poison, I saw where Coach Saban is headed up to Washington again to talk to members of the Congressional Black Caucus about NIL. And honestly, I don't know what he can accomplish there.
Well, I don't either, but I guess we'll find out. I guess, either they've asked him to come or he's wanting to go. I don't know you probably know more about it than I do, it sounds like. So when is it? What is the who's he meeting with? When's it going to be? Do you have any more details? 'Cause I don't really have any details on it.
I thought I read that on Tide 100.9. I could be mistaken. Now, what I'd like to do is go back and see where I read that, and I'll send it in on chat form if it's okay.
Yeah, that'd be good because I'm not really familiar with. I know he prepares for game day every week, and he's been at obviously the first two Alabama games. But I'm not saying that it's wrong. I hadn't read the story, but I didn't know there were plans for him to go back up there. So
there are, and but I promise you, I'll go back in and research that, and I'll send you a chat message or maybe another column I can dovetail in and let you know.
If you read it and have more info, just call me back on the show, and you can come on and tell us about it exactly. Because, like I said, I try to stay on top of things, as you know, but there's things that get past me too. So I don't know. I'll try to Google it here in a minute and see if I can come up with it. But now I don't know anything about it.
Right. Well, I guess the thing I believe you have to be careful with when you approach a group of politicians like that on their turf. They're not coming down here to see him. He's going up there to see them. Mm-hmm. But my concern is they say, why don't you do more?
Now, who says, why don't you do more?
That's my concern is that the group of politicians say, we don't understand why you're not doing more.
Well, who's not doing more? You mean more for the student athletes?
Yes.
How much more can you do?
Well, that's my point. But that's my concern is that it can sort of get messed up. Your intentions may be one thing, but you fly back scratching their head thinking that didn't work out too good.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine how much more you can do now unless you just give them all $1 million a piece and say they don't have to pay taxes on it and just do what they want. There's so much afforded to them and the opportunities afforded to student athletes right now that the only risk they run of not having a good opportunity in life is if they're one of these, and it's starting to happen. They just go in the portal so many times that they really don't stick anywhere. And then they don't wind up making it in the NFL. And then some of them do, believe it or not, still wind up not having a degree, not having really any foundation at any particular school. Now, that's a danger. But that's on them. That's on them, because every school now offers, and let's not forget this, in addition to all the financial incentives that they're now being given, you still have an opportunity to learn a degree absolutely free of charge. And we've just minimized that to the point where it sounds like it's nothing. It doesn't even come up in the conversation anymore. But it's still an opportunity in life to do something special through these athletic opportunities that they have. And I hope that's not lost in this money grab that everybody's on.
I hope not either, Gary. But I guess my point is I think that's a dubious group to go to for help. But that may be the only group you can go to for help. But we'll see.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll find out if Philip can get a little more information on that. I didn't know that. I'll look and see as well. I didn't know that Nick Saban was scheduled to go back to Washington, but I'll see. I'll check our website at tide109.com and see if I can find out what he's talking about. All right, it's 9:18 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're off and running. Matt Coulter on NASCAR coming up at 9:30. Open for phone calls in the next segment at 205-342-9904. I'm going to try to get Jordan Harper, Rivals recruiting analyst, on to talk about Amari Allen. We've also got Larry the Music Man coming up at 10:30. This is the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports. As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m., get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and
tradition. Come try their juicy burgers and hand-breaded chicken fingers with one-of-a-kind Irish gold sauce. We will see you at Innisfree Irish Pub, 1925 University Boulevard, downtown.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions, both dining rooms, at the bar, and out
in Birmingham. Plus, don't miss our grand opening celebration Friday, October the 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy today. Rain moving in by afternoon. The high 81. Becoming windy tonight. Cloudy with periods of rain. Maybe a few thunderstorms through tomorrow. Rain could be heavy at times. The low tonight 66. The high tomorrow 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. For Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:21, and during the break, I did research a little bit what Philip called in about, and he's absolutely right. And again, I miss things. I mean, I'm so focused, I guess, right now with what's going on the field that, but as Philip said, you can find out more at Tide109.com. But Nick Saban is going to be flying to Washington, D.C. tomorrow. He will lead a panel discussion organized by U.S. Representative Terry Sewell out of Birmingham during the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's annual legislative conference. And they will be talking, obviously, about NIL and transfer portal issues and just issues in general with college sports. But Nick Saban will be in Washington to lead that panel. So, yes, Philip's absolutely right that, and I hope that there's some, maybe there's some, constructive conversation that can lead to some reform and lead to some standards, because I think we need it. All right, let's jump out on the phone. We've got Cameron, and then we'll get to Robbie. Good morning, Cam. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Gary? How you doing, homie?
Oh, hanging in there, man. Hanging in there.
Dude, that sunset last night was gorgeous, dude. That was a good pic you posted, man. That
buddy.
was beautiful.
Appreciate that.
Hey, why don't we just skip? How long does a high school football student athlete have to go to college for? 2 years minimum, 3?
Now, before they go to the NFL, what?
Yeah. What's it before they could go pro?
You have to have 3 years in college. In other words, 2 years could be playing, one could be a redshirt year, but 3 years in college before you're eligible for the draft, right?
But basketball, you can go right out of high school to the pros, right?
1 year.
So it's 1 year. Because why don't we just do this? If they're not interested in education, because everybody's sports career will end eventually, why don't we just let them go straight to the pros and give to the scholarships to the people who want it, who can't afford it, if they want to get an education? Because if you don't, just go play ball. If you don't want to have something to fall back on and you're going to have a good investment, then why waste your time in a book? I don't know. Just my thoughts.
No, I think there's been other people that have thought that up. It's one thing, though. It's so hard physically in football to go straight from high school. There have been a handful of players maybe that could do it. I think of Marcus Dupree, Herschel Walker, maybe Cornelius Bennett, Bo Jackson, those type of guys. Most of those kids that come out of high school, though, aren't physically ready to play in the NFL. There has been some talk before about a developmental league, a minor league like you have in basketball. But I'm with you in terms of trying to look at other opportunities, because some of these young men just don't want to be in college.
What else can you do if they don't want the education? Then why are they? I mean, I understand it's just kind of a knee jerk, but what else can Saban tell them to do? What else can you give the young man? Anyway.
No, I get it. No, I mean, it's an issue. That's why he's going back to Washington.
Could you imagine Bear Bryant right now, what he would think about college football?
I mean,
the college football is dead, man. It's in 2 years, 3 years, it's not even going to be recognizable. But, hey, man, how do you think our season's going so far? Alabama Crimson Tide football.
Well, I said this yesterday. After 2 games, there's 3 outcomes. You could be 1-1, 0-2, or 2-0. And Alabama's 2-0, and that's the bottom line. The way they got to 2-0 this past Saturday night against South Florida is troublesome. It's concerning. I mean, I think that game.
I mean, if their quarterback could have got their wide receivers, it would have got ugly. I mean, they got behind us quicker than stuff out of a tin horn. But
they missed some plays. Having said that,
and I know it's new. It's it's new. I get that. Like I always say, you need 5 games to see where you're at. You don't have to walk on the field and you're ready to go.
Good point. But, one thing, too, though, is in football, there's always a few plays. They missed some, and then when it was 14-6 and Milroe busted that long touchdown run, it would have been 21-6, and it would have gone in the other direction. And that got called back for a hold. So it is what it is, but Alabama won the game, and now you move on.
Yeah, this is true. That's what I keep telling my family, because my family's like the sky's falling.
Yeah, I remember when Dave Rader was the offensive coordinator here years ago, and kid that worked for me. I think Alabama just lost the game, and I think he said, "Coach, you're." I don't think it was 2-2. Somebody said, "Coach, you're 2-2. Where do you go from here?" And he said, 3-2. You're always looking to win. You're always looking to win the next one. Regardless. Hey, thank you, Cam.
Take it easy, Gary.
Good to hear from you. All right, let's get one more phone call in with our pal Robbie from Striker Strong. Good morning, Robbie.
Hey, good morning, Gary. You doing okay?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right. A little tired. Striker keeping us up all night, but that's about the norm now with him. I don't know what's going on, but
Hades
he
not
had
sleeping.
a better night last night.
Good.
Yeah, it's weird. The gabapentin they got him on, a really strong narcotic, but somehow it's amped him up. I guess it does that to some people, but we'll deal with it. But yeah, like everybody, a little worried about the team this past weekend, but it was a win. And, South Florida, they always give us trouble. They got littler guys, fast guys on the end, and it gets around our big guys like they did Proctor last year. And look how good Proctor turned out.
Yeah.
So we'll be fine. 75, learn from it. He'll be ready to go this week. I know Wisconsin's got some big dudes. And what an environment they're going to go into. I sent you that video, man. into the third quarter jump around is going to be awesome.
Oh yeah. I just hope they're jumping around just because they're playing House of Pain and not because of the score. I hope their enthusiasm is for the song, but by that point in the game, the outcome's already decided. That'd be perfect. That'd be best case scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. You know, I think Bama's going to study that film and get back to smash mouth and then use our speed. So I think it'll be a great game. A whole different outcome, I think, come Saturday than what we saw.
I do too, my friend.
All right, I know you're getting ready to get our buddy Matt on there. Love listening to y'all talk NASCAR. Even though I'm not a huge NASCAR guy, I still like it.
Thank you, Robbie. Good to hear from you, man.
All right, buddy. Good talking to you, Gary.
All right, thank you.
Tide.
All right, it is 9:28 here on the Gary Harris Show, and a reminder that the YMCA has no joining fee the entire month of September. You can join, just start your monthly dues, no joining fee. Also, 10% off all personal training packages with their certified personal trainers, both duo and single packages. So, love to hear from you folks that get over there and join the Y. I'm sure you'll love it the way I have loved it for over 20 years. The YMCA of Tuscaloosa, 2300 13th Street downtown. We'll be back with Matt Coulter on NASCAR next year on the Gary Harris Show.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure
Lowe's Pros. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
For more from Tide 100.9,
lets it fly, and there's it.
Whoa! Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and SoundCloud.
All right, 9:31. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time to talk NASCAR. And boy, the playoffs are here. NASCAR has had a lot of drama this season. It's been exciting. Another really exciting race this past Sunday at Atlanta. And Matt Coulter joins me to talk all things NASCAR. And our segment's got a little momentum. I've had a lot of people, say a lot, a number of people comment on the fact that they're glad we talk NASCAR. And I am glad too, Matt, because as we've talked about, you can find it on the internet, you can find it with podcasts. But as far as linear radio, there just aren't that many people that follow or talk NASCAR anymore. I'm glad we do.
I don't know anybody in the state. I've said that before, but it's true, and I enjoy doing it. And by the way, I don't mind plugging my bosses. NASCAR in Talladega, it's a month away from the Yellowwood 500. But we need to talk Atlanta.
Yeah, Quaker State 400 available at Walmart this past Sunday, and you got your second win. And I got confused because I've taken Logano so much, and you had the first pick. You took Logano. I took Blaney. I thought they finished 1-2.
I did too.
They ruled that Suarez finished ahead of Blaney, but they finished 1-3, and Blaney took care of his teammate there and locked up, and that's really what pushed Joey to the win. So good work there by Penske. I had told you, we talked about last week, that Penske, they've got strong cars, but they'd had some bad racing luck from being wrecked to having questionable restarts against them. So they're both the 12 and the 22 are two cars to watch. But exciting race, a lot of drama, some wrecks, fuel issues. But in the end, the 12 and the 22 hooked up on the inside, and it was Suarez trying to hook up with who was pushing him until he got disconnected. Was it Chastain?
Yeah, Chastain, and then he ended up clipping the wall.
Yeah, he ended up clipping the wall, but that I thought was what allowed Joey to get that win, because he barely held him off there at the end. But listen, man, they were talking about it on the telecast on USA Network. Joey Logano is a big time driver who is at his best. He's got 2 championships. He may be working on the third. He only had 1 win, but you get to the playoffs, watch out for the 22, right?
Yeah, and you remember a couple of years ago when he won his first championship, I think he won 3 races in the playoffs, at least 2, because I remember one of them was Talladega. But just going back a second while you're talking about Penske, Austin Cindric had a great car.
He did.
Had the most laps That's another Penske ride. So they had 3 in the top 10 and, of course, 2 in the top 3. And it ended up just be a heck of a race. And you're right about Logano. He is tremendous on restarts. And if he's got a lead, it's going to be real tough to knock him down. I will say this, as I texted him, we talked about it on Sunday and Monday. I don't think Logano's going to win that race without Blaney's push, though.
He would not have, but that's what good teammates do. And I thought that, Blaney was, happy finishing third, getting some good points. And for the 22 right now, I mean, it's just one race in, and it's fluid. It's week to week. But after one race of the playoffs, Joey goes from being a guy who you knew he was lurking, but he's, certainly one of the favorites now because he's put himself already into the round of 12, got a lot of momentum. They're going to have fast cars, even with a road course coming up. I think, the 12 and the 22, like I said, and Cindric's in the playoffs too. But I think the 12 and the 22 both are serious championship contenders.
I agree 100%. Of course, we've got, there are 15 others, 16 just depending on how you're doing your math here. There are 16 guys that are gunning for that championship, and only one right now is guaranteed to the round of 12, and that's the 22 Penske Mustang.
Some interesting sidebar stories. First of all, Kyle Larson lost a lot of his, he was having that. He had the high dollar real estate. He was the guy, finished second in the regular season, had a lot of point cushion there, and then, didn't finish the race. So the 5, talk about momentum gainers. Larson and his team lost a lot of momentum.
Boy, they did. And I'm looking up the points race here right now to see if I can. Ty Gibbs didn't do well either. Keselowski. A lot of these guys that had wins during the season dropped way down, but Larson is certainly one of them. But I'm not jumping ahead of the gate here, but Larson's one you got to look at the road course in New York.
And Denny Hamlin, the curious case of Denny Hamlin. I mean, the fact that team made the conscious decision to just not try to win the race and just try to kind of drive around at the back and then pick up some points. I don't think anybody could figure that out. And a couple of the former drivers, analysts said, I never went into a race not trying to win the race. And then it backfired on Denny because they wound up getting collected and got really nothing out of that race.
No, they dropped 5 in the standings.
What gives there, Matt?
I don't know.
A guy trying to win his first championship in his 40s. We know he's one of the best drivers out there, but he's never won a championship. And then you enter the first playoff race with that mentality? People just seem miffed, and I have to agree. I'm miffed too.
Well, there's a lot going on with Hamlin. Of course, his team and then the team he owns, with Bubba Wallace, and they're talking about not signing their charter with NASCAR. And, man, that gets to be complicated as a pile of coat hangers. But, no, I thought that was very, very odd and very unlike the demeanor when you think of the 11 driver.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's always challenging for the front, knocking people over. Well, what's he doing in the middle of the pack and then wrecking? I don't know. That's a great question. I do like curious case of Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I can't really follow it. I'm just miffed by it. All right, we go to Watkins Glen now, and these are road courses are wild cards. I mean, they just are. I mean, you can take everything that you watch every week with your top drivers and really not apply them to a road course. Who becomes the top drivers and the favorites change based strictly on the layout. Give us the track report. Obviously it's a road course, but every road course, just like every oval, is different. And Watkins Glen is the traditional road course, or one of them on the NASCAR circuit.
And it's one, and I know how you feel about road courses, and I'm kind of the same way. But if I were to pick one to go to, it would be go bowling at the Glen. It'll be 2:00 on USA. It is about 3.450 miles, has 11 turns. It's consisted of asphalt and concrete. And lately it has been smiling on Hendrick Motorsports a lot. They've won the last 5. So I would love to go to that race. First of all, it sells out every year, even in the down years of NASCAR. Watkins Glen would sell out. And I think I'd like to sit on one of those grassy areas underneath the trees and have a cold beer with some of the New York NASCAR fans and just talk. We can swap stories between New York and Talladega.
Well, this is a track where I got the first pick. I'm not going to pick Penske here because of just what we're talking about. I'm not saying they won't run well, but I don't look at their guys as favorites here. You mentioned Larson. Allmendinger has been good here. Well, like you said, all the Hendrick cars you have to watch. And, I wish you had the first pick, to be honest with you, this week, because I hate picking first picks on road courses because I just don't – it's not my forte. But I do need to go ahead and give it a pick. So, you know what? I got the first pick. He had a disappointing finish. You're right. You got to look at Hendrick, and if you're going to look at Hendrick, you got to look at the 5. So I'll take Kyle Larson. I mean, his track record here is second to none, and I'm trying to pick who I think is going to win the race. And since I don't really like road courses, why not pick a guy who has a tremendous track record there for a team that has a tremendous track record? So I'll take the 5, Kyle Larson.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to go against anybody that races for Hendrick right now. Although we have to note that Shane Van Gisbergen is racing in there, too. You remember what he did 2 years ago in Chicago? I guess it was just a year ago. But anyway, that'll be interesting to watch. I understand Juan Pablo Montoya is trying to get a ride up there, too. But if you're going to take the 5, I'm going to take the 9. I'm going to take Chase Elliott. He won back-to-back in 18 and 19. He is a noted road course specialist. And, based on Hendrick, based on Elliott, based on that track, and his 2 wins there, I'm going to take Chase Elliott.
Good pick, and he needs a win. He's still not quite back to the status that he had before the snowboarding incident deal that he had last year. I mean, he's a guy that you're watching, but he's lost a lot of the pizzazz. I mean, when we talk about championship contenders, we don't really mention Chase Elliott much anymore. So that'd be a chance for him to kind of reapply his greatness. All right, so we'll both take the Chevrolets. I got the 5, and you got Elliott. So we'll see what happens overall. And I've talked about this playoff system. It has its critics, no doubt. And it's been since Briscoe got in, it's really kind of and Harrison Burton too. You've had a lot of people saying, well, there's no way you should be able to be bad all year and win a race. But I like what Briscoe said. I'm not going to apologize. It's the system. I won a race. I qualified. Maybe guys that had better years didn't, but it is what it is. And I will say this: it builds excitement when you're getting close to the playoffs to know that everybody that is in the field still has a chance to get into the playoffs with a win.
Well, I mean, go back. Was it just 2 years ago that the Philadelphia Phillies got in on a wild card and won it all?
That's right.
You can't count these long shots out. And by the way, Chase, he doesn't owe anybody an apology. He's in. He followed the rules. He won. He won a race. He qualified. No apologies necessary there. I do occasionally, I read criticisms of the stages. I like the stages personally. And the way the point system is now and get down to the last 10 race. But right now, I kind of like it. But NASCAR, and its fans, its drivers and owners and all that, they're going to change it eventually, don't you think?
Probably will, but I've warmed up to the stages too. I'm with you. I didn't like them initially. I'm but you're always running for something. And Kyle Busch was in contention for a while. I still like the fact that if you're going to have non-playoff drivers driving in races with the playoff drivers, they have a right to try to win the race. I did, I don't agree with everything Kyle Busch said, but I agreed with him on that. He said, I'm trying to win a race, and he's not going to get out of the way of somebody who is in the playoffs. So that always can add angst and anxiety and drama to these races too. When if late in a race,
he's got personal goals. He's got personal goals. He wants to keep rolling too.
Absolutely,
like consecutive years with victory. I don't blame him for being that way. And by the way, he just continues to have the worst luck. He finished 7th. He had a competitive car. I think he's finished 7th, 5th, 2nd twice, and 3rd. in the last 5 races, which is just incredible.
All right, we get through the Glen, and, of course, we'll preview it next week. But I am looking forward to the, I love Saturday night racing, and Bristol's going to be awesome. Alabama does not play that Saturday as fate would have it, and there'll still be tons of college football. But that's something to look forward to. So anyway, I'm excited. We're in the playoffs. I think it's going to be the drama is going to be built, and as you just said, you got guys trying to win a championship, but you got other guys that are trying to keep their rides. Some that are trying to get a ride. So everybody's got something to run for. All right, let's get to the charter situation, because, again, I think so many not just people that don't follow racing, but a lot of race fans still don't really understand how this works and what the controversy is. So I want to get you to explain it again. You can't just have a lot of money and say, hey, I want to start a NASCAR team at the cup level. It doesn't work that way. But what's going on with these charters, and what is the deal with 2311?
Well, I find it very interesting that 2311 suddenly started griping about this after they got the win taken away with the Bristol. I don't know that had anything to do with it, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. There are 36 charters. They're sold to the teams. It's actually an agreement between the team and NASCAR. If you have a charter, you're guaranteed a slot, but you got to show up. You got to run. It favors the larger teams because they have 3 or 4 charters. The smaller teams, not so much. But when it gets to the divisions of the pie, it gets pretty complicated, and I think that's what the 2311 is griping about. And I don't know if they'll make any headway. What are they going to do? Not Ray?
That makes no sense. Yeah.
No, it doesn't make any sense. But that is, we could do another hour on charters and how they work, and I probably couldn't explain it all that well. I kind of understand it in my head, but putting it into words is a little bit different. But it's just an agreement, just like Major League Baseball shares part of its revenues, TV revenues, with the teams and the owners. And this is what charter is. That's very basic, but that's pretty much where it is. And F1 does the same thing, and they get the same complaints. And, charters go so on and so forth. But anyway, hey, before we wrap up, may I beg 1 minute of you? I want to share a 9/11 story.
I want you to. I got one more charter question, Matt, and then I'll definitely let you do the 9/11 story. And it's also Coach Bryant's birthday too. But what happens with Stuart Haas going out? Are those charters put up for bid? How does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can buy them out. Usually another team will come in there and scoop it up. Usually a charter is also assigned a number, so they'll pick up the numbers left, like the 4. But that's the way that works. And we'll see how, if they just get into a huge argument. What I really fear here, Gary, is that it's going to meet with litigation. And why does it have to end up in the courts? Let's get together in a room with Michael Jordan and Curtis Polk, his business administrator, and let's work this thing out. Let's not let it go that far. You never know, especially in this day and age.
All right, Matt, 9/11 anniversary, 23 years ago today. Our country was under attack, and you got a 9/11 story.
I do. I don't know how many people remember this. Scott Griffin and I were on the air at Jocks, and it was just some of the most emotional radio I've ever done in my life. But through all these events, I ended up meeting a guy named Pete DeLorme. He was a New York City firefighter. And on 9/11 that morning, he was walking his 2 dogs along the river. He lived there in the Bronx. And he saw the plane hit the tower. And he grabbed his 2 dogs. He was on vacation, by the way, which is of note. He's on vacation. Grabbed his 2 dogs, went immediately home. He got in his little family minivan and drove right into the middle of the chaos as a firefighter and a first responder and one of the bravest people I've ever known in my life. And he made it home after 2 days. And many people did not make it home. And I honor those that did and didn't. And Frenchie has been a dear friend ever since. A year later, he actually took me to Ground Zero, and we went to the site, and the signs were still there, and there was the girders that made the cross. I take no shame, but we both hit our knees and just cried. It'd been the first time he'd been back since he had been there helping. But I like to share that story because that's what America's all about.
Great story, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless.
All right, Matt Coulter on NASCAR. It's 9:49, and we're going to take a break. Come back. We got one final segment to go. Phone lines are open in the next segment on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline, 205-342-9904. We'll be right back.
On the next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Thursday, 7:30. J.C. Sherbeth will join us. We'll go through the SEC. Second hour, we'll hear what Coach Kalen DeBoer had to say in his call-in show. Plus, we'll take your phone calls throughout the week and get you ready for Dad's Blue Plate special that will be released on Friday.
Inside the Locker Room, weekdays 7 to 9 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa at Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And, of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features
electrical distributors in Tuscaloosa, Coleman, or Decatur, or call All Phase Electric Supply in Albertville and Huntsville for an on-site evaluation and recommendations for optimizing your lighting.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy today, rain moving in by afternoon, the high 81. Becoming windy tonight, cloudy with periods of rain, maybe a few thunderstorms through tomorrow. Rain could be heavy at times. The low tonight 66, the high tomorrow 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
to 1913 in Morro Bottom, Arkansas. And, it's just amazing that you've had two coaches the caliber of Coach Bryant and Coach Saban at the same school. And then also, you add in Coach Wade and Coach Thomas and Coach Stallings, all national championship winning coaches. It's just phenomenal history and tradition. But in this second hour, if you happen to have a Coach Bryant story, if you want to share it with us, we'd love to hear it. Whether you're a former player or if you're a person who grew up watching Alabama football in the 60s and 70s and remember Coach Bryant, we'd love to hear from you. I talked about trying to get Jordan Harper on to talk about Amari Allen. He's not available today. We may try to reschedule him for tomorrow. Rivals basketball analyst. And we've got Larry the Music Man coming up at 10:30. I know he's a big Coach Bryant fan. We'll ask him about it. And I may try to grab a former player. I mentioned former players. I've got, probably should have planned this in advance with being Coach Bryant's birthday. But so much going on. I had a hectic day yesterday with Tider Insider TV and my TV duties, trying to get the radio show set. But we got a big second hour coming up, so we'll look forward to more phone calls. We'll talk more Bama football. I'll go ahead and start looking ahead to the weekend in the SEC. Of course, my SEC point spread predictions coming up on Friday, as well as our Bama football trivia contest presented by T-Town Menswear and T-Town Gallery University Mall. We'll be back live at Innisfree, even though it's an away game. We'll be part of Fridays at the Free with Wyatt and me there at Innisfree Irish Pub. So a lot to look forward to later in the week. But in the second hour, I'm going to try to grab a former player that played for Coach Bryant and have some Coach Bryant memories. I can do that. I know enough of them. I got them in my phone, Chase, so I'll work on that for the second hour as well. That's going to wrap it up for hour number one. It's been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, your trusted partner for financial success. Embrace financial well-being with Alabama Credit Union. Find out more at alabamacu.com. Hour number two of the Gary Harris Show with Gary and Chase is on the way right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC.
Fincher and Osmond to the rescue.
I'm Tom Osmond, your jeweler at Fincher and Osmond Jewelers. Not so easy to find on McFarland, between Edgar's and local routes.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow trucks, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And
ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis. And visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Nick Cope.
Tuesday in baseball, the Braves dominated the Nationals 12-0. Michael Harris Jr. homered twice. Mets lost to the Blue Jays 6-2, so Atlanta is back even with New York for the final NL wildcard spot. Cubs are trying to keep their wildcard hopes alive. They beat the Dodgers 6-3. Chicago now 4 games back of the Braves and the Mets. Padres got a 7-4 win against the Mariners, putting San Diego 4.5 back of LA in the race for the NL West crown. Royals shut out the Yankees 5-0. Seth Lugo tossed 7 scoreless as he picked up his major league leading 16th win of the year. Orioles got a pair of homers from Cedric Mullins and beat the Red Sox 5-3. Baltimore back within half a game of New York atop the AL East. And the White Sox lost to the Guardians 8-0 for their 113th loss of the season. Chicago is 8 losses away from setting a new single-season record.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
There were several traffic crashes across the Tuscaloosa metro area this morning. One in Foster's involved a school bus. Another on the I-359 on-ramp from I-2059 toward downtown claimed a life. The passage of Francine tomorrow will bring heavy rain, possible flooding, strong wind gusts, and possible short-duration tornadoes to West Alabama. Cottondale State Senator Gerald Allen proposing the state purchase the Black Warrior Parkway toll bridge and remove the tolls. A resolution making that request is being sent to Governor Ivey.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, good morning. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, hour number 2 right here on Tide 100.9 FM, 1230 AM WTBC. Gary Harris, Chase Brumfield with you, and we've got Larry the Music Man coming up at 10:30. I'm also got a couple of text messages out to some former Coach Bryant players. If I can get one of them on, we will. In fact, we got Lou Green just texted me back. Great offensive lineman from Birmingham, played for Alabama in the 70s. Lou is going to jump on with us in the next segment to talk about his memories of Coach Bryant, and that'll be awesome. So, but right now we're going to jump out on the Pinnacle Park and North River Hotline, and Tony is out in Oklahoma, and he's on the program this morning. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning. I've got a question that has nothing to do with football for you.
Sure.
What kind of bicycle do you ride?
You must have saw my pictures on social media, I'm assuming.
No, actually, I heard you mention it the other day about the 15-mile ride. I'm not on social media, but I'm just curious what you ride.
Well, let me tell you my bike story. Velo City Bicycles here in Tuscaloosa, great bicycle shop. And a few years ago, when they were doing a little advertising with me, it's probably been 5 years ago, under their former owner. And he said, let's get you riding a bike. And it's not, when I tell you, because you're probably thinking, well, it's going to be one of these. It's a good bike, don't get me wrong, but it's a good old fashioned Schwinn, and it is just a normal 3-speed on the handle that can go on pavement or go off road a little bit. And it's been great for me. And I have had it, like I said, about 5 years. Kept it up. Now listen, it's not cheap. Now I'm not going to sit there and tell you that it's, but it's not one of these $3,000 or $4,000 bikes. You know what I mean, Tony?
Sure. Yeah, I've got some of those, but I've got a bike story. The year of COVID, there was the nationals, the duathlon nationals in Tuscaloosa, and they got canceled. I qualified to ride that year.
Oh, really? Well, see, I'm just a recreational rider. You sound like a really serious rider, but
yeah. But you're right, though. You said the other day, I know in passing, you said 15 miles is not a big deal. And 15 miles is not a big deal,
Well, what happened was I was on social media and I put it out because I had it was Labor Day and I was off that afternoon from the TV station. So, I don't get many afternoons off during the week. And I said, I want to be productive. So, I didn't think much about it. Like you said, I put out I had biked 15 miles, walked 3 miles, and gotten in a couple hundred push-ups. And somebody came out about the bike and said, 15 miles, question mark. Like they were, and I, I don't know if they meant it to be sarcastic, but I just said, yeah, duh, 50, like you said, 50 miles on a bike. Really walking 3 or 4 miles to me is a little more difficult than biking 15, especially absolutely. I'm on a flat trail there next to the river. It's a flat trail. It's easy pedaling. I mean, and it wasn't like I was out there. I mean, it was just a casual bike ride. And so, but I think people that don't ride bikes hear 15 miles and they think, but you being a serious, 15 miles on a bike goes by no time flat. So yeah, I'm not a serious biker, but I do enjoy it when I, for recreation and for a little bit of exercise.
Well, apparently you do pretty well. And there's nothing wrong with Schwinn. I mean, there's a lot of bikes out that are, I ride I've got a couple of Cannondales and a Specialized, but at the same time though, I ride with people that ride Schwinn and I don't have any problem. They get it done.
Yeah.
That's all
well,
that matters.
it's been good for me, and it's I can't remember exactly. I think it's like a Schwinn signature series or something like that. But it was, but it's like I said, it just fits me, and I do need to change the tires out on it. Now they're starting to get a little bit worn. I've went through one set and going to get another set. But yeah, it's it's a several $100 bike, but it's not anything. Like I said, I mean, again, for you being a serious bike rider, we could go on and on. I mean, I was amazed at how expensive some of these bikes are. I mean, they are, woo. I mean, you probably got some.
Well, I mean, you get down, you look at the pros, what they're riding. I mean, they're $14,000.
Yeah.
To 14 to 24,000, depending on how expensive they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. When you change tires, look at a tire called a Pan Racer.
Pan Racer?
They're really,
okay.
Pan Racer. They're good tires, and they're great for hybrid bikes. And that sounds like what you're riding.
It is. It's a hybrid. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I was going all over the place trying to think of the term, but it's hybrid. That's exactly what it is. It's a hybrid. Yeah. So, man, Tony, I appreciate the call. And
right.
Hey, maybe I'll start a bicycle segment here sometime.
Well, we could at least talk about when the Grand Tours are going on. That would be a lot of fun.
Well, call back in, man. Love to hear from you.
All right. All right. Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate Tony from out there in Oklahoma. You never know what's going to catch somebody's attention. I mean, as far as, and that's one thing, Chase, we talked about, I like about my show is, I'll talk about just about anything. Never anticipate getting a bicycle call. But there you go. So, but anyway, Lou Green coming up in the next segment talk some Bama football, Coach Bryant memories, and let's do this right now, Chase. We're not going to run it all, but Tyler Booker, who's one of my favorite interviews on the Alabama team, outstanding junior offensive lineman, guard, moved out to tackle against South Florida. He had a media session yesterday and talked with reporters for several minutes. And let's hear from the junior out of Connecticut who played at IMG Academy. Here's Tyler Booker.
Really took over control in that last 6-7 minutes. What changed right there where you got kind of control of the game?
I think we just really enforced finish. You know what I mean? We knew we didn't play where we needed to play in order to perform the way we needed to in that game. So our whole mantra, our whole mindset is going 1-0, and we just kept going 1-0. 1-0 means focus on the next play, not the play before. So we just kept going and focusing on that. And then Coach DeBoer preaches to us, keep playing, and the game will come back to you. And we played hard from the jump. We just weren't executing to where we needed to, and we kept playing, and the game finally came back to us.
You got some big holes there on those runs there at the end, those touchdown runs. Just kind of talk about the O-line on those last couple of touchdowns.
A few holes opened up?
Yeah, like, it was jammed.
Oh, okay. I thought you said a few holes. I was about to say. Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, that's how we play every play. That's how we attack every play. We just learned some things that they were doing schematically. We made some adjustments on the sideline. That's what allowed for those holes to open up. And we also just made a decision like, look, we're letting this team down as a unit. We need to fix it. And I feel like we came together great as a group and said we're going to fix it. We're going to right our wrongs right now.
CJ Dupree kind of talked a little bit about Bama beating Bama in that game. Is that kind of the feeling coming out of that? Is a lot of the times like when you guys are struggling, you're just beating yourself?
Oh, for sure. You can look back at that game and see we had 2 touchdowns called back for holding, and then we had them about 200 yards in penalties and 100 yards equals a touchdown. So those 4 touchdowns that we left on the board. So we were just definitely beating ourselves, and I'm glad we went through this adversity so we know how to learn from it in the future.
How frustrating was it, you guys wanted to right this sloppy game from last year, and then you're playing the same opponent. You weren't able to do that until late. First of all, how frustrating was that during the moment of maybe not being able to break through the way that you guys planned?
I mean, first of all, it's frustrating to not perform at your best ability when no matter who we were playing. We could be playing Georgia or the Dallas Cowboys. We always want to perform to the best of our ability. So it really wasn't about USF. It was just us not playing to the Bama standard. So we just had to right our wrongs in the fourth quarter, which we definitely did. And most importantly, as an offense, and I just want to shout out the defense. Shout out Tim Keenan. He just got Defensive Lineman of the Week, and they really kept us in that game. So shout out to them. I'm very excited to see how they continue to grow and progress, but big shout out to those guys.
Speaking of Tim, you're a lot of times getting matched up against him in practice as a guard. Just how much of a handful is he as a side and athletic?
TK, he has his size and his athleticism. That's something that he doesn't get credit for a lot. Like the way his body moves, his quickness, his agility is very surprising for somebody in his frame. And it'll really catch you off guard if you're sleeping on him. But I get to see him every day, so we just get better. And a great thing about TK and I, and Tim Smith as well, like we all have a great relationship. So after practice, Coach DeBoer implemented Shake It Up. So that's when you go dap your teammates up. And Tim and I will talk about some things that I did, and I would talk about some things that they did that are really good, but also things that they could work on. So we're just getting each other better every day.
When did you learn that you were going to be playing left tackle on Saturday?
I always knew it was a possibility throughout the week, but Coach just let me know the morning of, and I was ready for it. Played left tackle in high school. Obviously, a lot different playing in front of 100 to 100,000, but I'm a ball player, man. You could put me guard, tackle, center, tight end, receiver, wherever you need me. I'm going to play ball, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability.
How did the communication on the offensive line change with shuffling?
It just changed with who was talking to who, honestly. Like, the communication was still seamless. USF does a great job of showing a lot of unique pressures and stunts, so we really had to be very vocal of that. And it just changed of who was talking to who. Everybody was still very vocal and communicating really well.
Obviously, J.T. Latham came down to Florida to play his high school football, but have y'all had any conversation about playing in Wisconsin?
Oh, yeah. He's trying to get some of his friends back at home some tickets for the game, so I got to see if I can help him out with that. But that's all we spoke about as far as that goes.
All right, good stuff there from Tyler Booker yesterday during his media session. Outstanding Alabama offensive lineman, and he, along with the rest of the Crimson Tide, getting ready to go to Wisconsin on Friday and then play the game on Saturday. Hey, lunch right around the corner. As you know, I got a lot of great places that I'm involved with that serve terrific lunch, and one of them certainly is Los Roscoe's. 3 locations now to serve you. Highway 69 North in Northport, right here on Skyland Boulevard in Tuscaloosa, and their newest location downtown at Timerson Square. Authentic Mexican fare in a relaxed, laid-back atmosphere. Great bar, terrific margaritas. Try Los Roscoe's for lunch. They open at 11 a.m. And we're going to be back.
% satisfaction and appointments set around your schedule. Give us a call for all your steam cleaning needs. 205-553-9460. Houston Hydro Steam. Quality work you can stand on.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first day at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow truck, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit DriveSafeAlabama.org, brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy today, rain moving in by afternoon, the high 81. Becoming windy tonight, cloudy with periods of rain, maybe a few thunderstorms through tomorrow. Rain could be heavy at times. The low tonight 66, the high tomorrow 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Follow Tide 100.9 on Facebook today to watch our live shows, read the great articles, and interact with Bama fans today.
All right, 10:18. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. And I told you earlier in the show, I should have just booked this in advance, but I was so busy last night, I didn't get around to doing it. But I said I know enough former Alabama players that played for Coach Bryant. I should be able to get one on. And Lou Green, outstanding offensive lineman for the Crimson Tide in the mid-'70s, was a great player at John Carroll High School. Jumping on to remember Coach Bryant on what would have been his 111th birthday. Good morning, Lou. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely a pleasure. And we've talked before, but before we get to your playing at Alabama for Coach Bryant, when you were at John Carroll, you were a highly recruited offensive lineman. What was the recruiting process like for you? Were there other schools that you strongly considered, or how did you wind up at Alabama?
There was quite a few that sent me letters and would contact me, but once I made that first trip to Alabama, I knew there was no other reason to go to visit any other school, because I got a chance to an opportunity that I just couldn't pass up.
Well, you did. You got a chance to play for Paul William Bryant, the Bear. I know, knowing as many of you guys as I do, and having talked to as many of you as I have, it wasn't just about football. It was a life-changing experience to play for Coach Bryant. What was it like? Winning games, playing for championships, all that great stuff. I get it, but just the experience of playing for an icon like that.
Well, I tell you, it was just an honor to get the chance. And then, of course, playing for D. Powell, who I didn't realize at the time was a Junction boy, and I didn't know what Junction boy meant, but I do now. So it's just so many fond memories, and the players that I got to play with, and all the people that supported the university, the staff, the administration, the students, and it was a great experience.
Life lessons. I mean, Coach Bryant, I know he stressed football and he wanted to win, and you were part of a program that won 100 games in the 70s when you only played 11 games a year.
Right.
But he wanted to prepare you guys for life. Anything specific that comes to mind that he would do as a coach, that not just in terms of the football lessons, but getting you ready to be fathers and husbands and just go on and have a successful life?
Well, I tell you, every day I think it's something that he said or did, or always, when I come down to making some sort of decision about, I always just think, what would Coach Bryant have me do, or what would he want me to do, or what would he done? And it's just, I've made a few left turns there in life, but got them all straightened out now.
You were part of a iconic matchup between Alabama and Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Woody versus the Bear, and I know you've been interviewed a lot about that game.
Yeah.
And you guys, and really that 77 team, I thought should have won the national championship. It didn't happen.
Yeah, no question about that. And if you remember that Texas was 1, Oklahoma was 2, we were 3, Arkansas was 4, Notre Dame was 5th. In the nation, of course. Notre Dame did beat Texas, and Earl Kimball, I think, fumbled 5 times to help that cause go along. But and then Arkansas beat Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl, and we felt like we were national champions there for a whole day. But after the game, Coach Bryant, some reporter asked him if he thought we were a great team. He said, "Yes, I think they're a great team. And if you don't believe me, line somebody up against them tomorrow, and let's see what happens." So,
were you aware of because I know Coach Bryant said, Woody's a great coach and I ain't bad either at the Sugar Bowl banquet. Were you aware that, you wanted to win the game? Obviously, you knew you had a chance, to win the national championship if you won. And were you aware, though, of the historic significance of having Bear Bryant versus Woody Hayes as a player? Did that, we want to win this one for Bear?
Well, we wanted to win it for ourselves.
True.
We knew what was on the line. And actually, before the game, Coach Bryant always usually said the same things. Play like you're behind, make your mamas and papas proud, represent yourself well on the field. He said, but don't be surprised if Ohio State comes out and throws the ball the first 3 times when they get the ball, and they don't throw it very much after that. And sure enough, they came out and threw the ball the first 3 times, and we stopped them. And he said, before the game, he goes, I don't know a whole lot about football, but I do know Woody Hayes. And damned if it didn't come out and throw the ball for me.
How about that?
And then we got the ball and started running up the middle, and it was lights were out.
It was over.
After the first 3 or 4 plays, I mean, I signaled to my teammates that I thought we had the game in hand. I used to do this routine called the bionic elbow or the ugly elbow, where I'd slap my elbow on the wrist like Dusty Rhodes did back in the wrestling days. And
I see it now.
It was a signal, baby. It was game on.
It shows again what a great coach Coach Bryant was. Not only did he know the game, but he knew the other coach and how he thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the wishbone. I want to. You mentioned D. Powell, your offensive line coach, and the wide splits. I know how frustrating it was for defensive linemen trying to get off blocks. And Alabama wasn't the biggest offensive line, but you were. You played at what, about 275?
260, 275, depending on what kind of week I had at the training table.
But that was you were one of the bigger offensive linemen. You guys weren't the biggest offensive line, but talk about blocking for the wishbone, the athleticism, we always hear 5 fingers in a glove for an offensive line. That wishbone blocking scheme was it was dynamic watching you guys, move and set up the run and running that option. That had to be fun.
Oh, it was perfect for me because you could just lay your ears back and go after somebody.
Right.
If you just got a piece of them. And, of course, you had Johnny Davis, Steve Whitman, Donnie Faust, fullbacks running right up your back. If you didn't make your block, they would help you along with it. And I've got a few back problems there these days from getting hammered in the back. So, and it was just a war of attrition. I mean, it was dog eat dog, and it's line them up and knock them down, help them up, and tell them you'll be right back.
Lou, when you were at practice, and Coach Bryant was up in the tower. I've heard some great tower. I've been told that he didn't come off the tower much. When the years do you have any come down off the tower stories?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I've got a perfect one. I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm going to have to leave a few choice words out. But we were going against the second offense was going against the second defense. Curly Hallman, he would take a piece of paper and just say, "Hey, run this play." And we were running the split back I formation, and we had no preparation for this. And we knew the next period that we had to stay where we were, and we were going to go against the first team defense. Well, Jack Herrera was a quarterback, and in between periods, as everybody was moving around, somebody mentioned he was out of his tower. About 2 seconds later, he walked in our huddle, walked around the inside of the huddle, and he's shaking his whistle at us, looking us in the eye, and then he said, and he didn't say it very loud, he said, "My 18 years here at the University of Alabama's head coach, that's got to be the worst period I've ever seen in my life." He said, "Now, the NCAA says we can only have 18 of these practices, but it doesn't say a dang thing about how long they're going to be. We're going to repeat this. We're going to repeat this period after practice, and if y'all don't start getting better, I'm going to turn the lights on. There's some food sent over here, and we'll be here till we get it right." And he walked out of that huddle, and I don't know if it lit a fire or what, but we couldn't do anything wrong. We ran right through the first team defense. Anyway, it was very, very, and we repeated that period after practice. And it was a Chinese fire drill, and Coach Bryant was down there swinging people. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Now get off the field.
Lord, he could get your attention. Lou Green with us.
Yeah.
Was he intimidating? I mean, I know he, he was a big man. He a man's man, all of that. But were players afraid of him, or was it just?
Oh, I definitely was.
Okay.
I didn't want. I also wanted to make sure I didn't disappoint him.
Right.
I didn't let him down, or just gave my best on every play, and just it was. I just can't tell you what I'm feeling now. It's just all these emotions are coming back to me. A lot of them are good, and some of them are bad.
Yeah.
So fear is a great motivator. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So with it being his birthday, will you talk to some of your former teammates? Will you?
Yeah. I've got. We started an A-list. It's an email group that started out with 16 names on it. Now it's over 3,800 people, and we've got a guy running it for us that's independent of the university, and I'll get probably 10 calls a week wanting somebody's phone number or their email address or how to get a hold of them. But we stay pretty tight. As a matter of fact, several weeks ago, we had our 50th anniversary of our freshman team, and we had about 25 of our guys get together. We stayed here in Birmingham, and we took a bus down to the scrimmage. And I got to tell you a funny story about this new coach. He spoke at the Red Elephant Club, up on top of the mountain.
Right.
I brought this book that Jim Bradford had written, and about our senior year. It's a very good. It's a page turner. But I handed him the book. I said, "There's some great Coach Bryant stories in there," and my card was stuck in there. And he said, "Are you Lou Green?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Turn it over." And it was a picture of me carrying Coach Bryant off the field after the Ohio State game. And I leaned in and I said, maybe one day you'll be in a picture like this.
That's a good one.
He started laughing, and then we had him down at the scrimmage. I saw where our guys were over there talking to him. So I walked over there, and he saw me, and he didn't. I don't think he remembered my name, but I said, "Coach, you get a chance to read that book yet?" He said, "No, I've been busy, And I said, "All right." So I had to tell him the story about turning the card over, and maybe one day he'll be in a picture like that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, Lou.
It was a nice gentle nudge, but anyways. Go ahead.
Well, no, I just was saying I got to hit the break, but I just great stories and one quick final thought I will get from you. I love the fact that you kind of part of this organizing of you guys because it's been 40 plus years since Coach Bryant coached, and I know even the guys that were on his last team in 1982 now are in their 60s. So a lot of you guys from the there's still quite a few, obviously, players around, but it's getting smaller every year. So
we lose a few here and there, but we'll make it. We'll make it.
Well, thank you, Lou. I appreciate you jumping on to remember Coach Bryant.
And an apple pie for dessert.
Let's slide over to Checkers for the $5 to $5 deal. Checkers with 2 locations, 15th Street in Tuscaloosa and McFarland Boulevard, Northport. Checkers open late nights.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:35. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show and the sweet sounds of Melissa from the Allman Brothers. Welcome us back in for Larry the Music Man, great musician from the, well, I shouldn't say from the 70s and 80s because he still plays, I'm sure, but joins us weekly. We're moving him to Wednesday because Fridays are so hectic with me being live at Innisfree. Fridays at the Free. Thought we could do a better interview with Larry, and if people want to call in, he loves people to call in, 205-342-9904. But back this morning with some news stories. Good morning, Larry. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. Man, you couldn't have done a better song there. Woo.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
When I hear that intro, my hair stands up on my arm.
Yeah, that'll tug at your heartstrings right there. It's a good one. You continue to text me with just some great pictures of the big house and Mama Louise Hudson at H&H Restaurant and those stories there and Macon with the Allman Brothers has been a popular topic, but it just seems like that whole city really is just like a cathedral to the Allman Brothers is what it feels like.
It is, and it's fixing to really be on fire toward the end of the month. And I'm planning on, since I'm doing Wednesday, we're not going up to Thursday, but we'll figure that out. We'll talk about it. But there'll be a lot going on that weekend starting on Thursday.
Right.
All through happy birthday, Coach Bear Bryant, my hero.
I was going to ask you about Coach Bryant. I just had a degree on before you.
I was quite a pretty good football player before the music bug bit me. I was still playing in garage bands in junior high, and I was very good fullback and looked like I was going to have a good future in high school. But I couldn't shake the music bug. But Ken Stabler, the Snake, was my hero.
Wow.
And he always, and this kind of goes with music, he was quite a rebel. And he had a saying one time, he said, the best way to study the playbook's by the light of a jukebox. And I could see him in a club, Old Smoky Bar, driving Coach Bryant crazy, him hanging out and studying that playbook or whatever. Or even when he played with the Raiders, I'm sure he did a lot of that. Yeah. Maybe more with the Raiders and Bryant coach. I don't think coach would let him do that.
Yeah, I think he had to had to be a little more strict with Coach Bryant. But
I think that was his Raiders history. That quote.
His Raiders history. I think he always said John Madden only requested one thing, and that was show up in time to play the game and be ready to play.
Well, I had done he ended up in Gulfport, Mississippi, which I had done a lot of gigs over there. I'm sorry I never run across him, but They said he was quite a character.
Well, I got to know him pretty well. Through my job here and my association with Tommy Wilcox Outdoors, when Ken Stabler was on with us, and I used to go down with Tommy to the he had that big redfish and speckled trout tournament down there and a little golf function back in the early 2000s, and he was the thing about Kenny Stabler, and I've shared this story before. He was selfless, and one of the perfect examples that I can tell you is that one year playing in that little par 3 golf tournament that they had down there, and he had a bunch of former Alabama players, and one of them was Shad Williams, who had just finished playing at Alabama. This was about 2004, 2005, somewhere in there, and they had a bunch of the former Bama players there, and Shad had got left back at the hotel, and I just happened to be standing there next to Kenny and Kim, his good friend, and they were like, well, where's Shad? And so we got left at the hotel, and she said, well, let's get somebody over there to get him. And Kenny was just like, I'll go get him. And she said, no, Kenny. He said, I'm not doing anything. I'll go get him. I mean, it's his turn. But that's the kind of guy he was. He's like, I'm not doing anything. Everybody else is busy. Let me just go back and get him and pick him up.
He just didn't really give him. He was a free spirit. And I guess he kind of probably could have been a hell of a musician. You know what I mean?
Probably could have been. I know he loved music, but he was a great guy.
Denzel Hollis named him the Snake, and his junior high coach,
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of reading up on him. But anyway.
He moved like a snake. He was a great runner, much like Namath before, the knees. He was a great runner. And, of course, the run in the mud and the 67 Iron Bowl is one that everybody remembers. But, yeah, but he loved music. It was a big part of his deal. I tell you what, I tell you this. Go ahead and let's get into a topic because we got they're lined up for you on the phones. We got a couple calls.
Look, I want to encourage that. I want to hear what turned them on in the mid 60s to early to mid 70s. What kind of music, what group influence, I want to hear their input. Sometimes I feel like I talk too much about myself, and that's what I like to hear. I like to hear what folks were listening to and what group they remember that they really liked,
Let's get Ground Chuck on and see what he's got to say about it. You punch him through because I always hang up on him, Chase. Ground Chuck, you're on with Larry the Music Man.
Hey, Larry, Gary, I enjoy this segment. That's what I was going to ask you about a couple of groups back in the 60s, if he knows anything about them. One was the Gadsden Blues. I think his guy's last name might have been Lumpkin. That was the singer. Have you ever heard of them?
They were from Alabama?
Yeah, Gadsden.
Gadsden Blues. What was the singer's name?
Something Lumpkin. But anyway, I'll get to one I'm pretty sure you heard of. They came from Tuscaloosa. Johnny Townsend and the Rubber Band.
Yeah, Johnny Townsend went on. We talked about him last week, Sanford Townsend Band.
They had an earlier one here in Tuscaloosa that used to play on WTBC is Let Love Come Between Us before they got big, And that other band
they are in Garage Bands of the South. There's a publication that was written years ago, and you can go online. In fact, some of my bands are in there too, and some are not. We couldn't find photos.
Well,
they were long.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it's ironic that we now have the 1230 WTBC signal for our sports talk station because, when you're talking music in the 60s and 70s in Tuscaloosa, as Chuck was saying, you're talking 1230 AM WTBC. That was the outlet for music, right, Chuck?
That's right. And Chuck Level or Lavelle, however I want to say it, he came out of here and went on with the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy named Ronnie Brown was with a group called the Cats from here. And They were on American Bandstand one time.
Oh, man.
Tuscaloosa was real rich in musical history.
Cat. I got that album.
All right, well, I enjoyed this segment. I'm going to keep listening to y'all.
Yeah, thank you, Chuck. No doubt. And when we first got Larry on, we talked about the rich music history here, and he named some of those guys. And last week we did talk about the Sanford Townsend Band. I mean, it's remarkable when you start digging in. Well, really any town in the South, but Tuscaloosa because we think about the football. But 1230 AM WTBC was a big musical outlet for years in this town, long before I lived here. But researched it, and that was the thing, Larry. You talked about it as a musician. the tie-in, particularly in the 60s with AM radio, 50s and 60s, but then in the 70s with the advent of FM, the tie-in between bands and radio. I mean, you really couldn't. Remember, folks, they're younger. There was no internet. There was no podcast. There was no pulling up a song. If you didn't get played on the radio, Larry, it was going to be hard to make it. That's just the reality of it.
Well, it was DJ personalities. Man, these like BAM radio went all the way across the state, and we could pick it up. And I grew up on Big BAM radio and WAPE, the 8th in Jacksonville. You could get them, on certain times of the day. Sometimes it wouldn't be clear, but it went across about 40 miles from where I was, where I grew up. And DJs, man, people don't realize it was 24/7. Radio stations had DJs, weathermen, sports writers. It was all a package, Mm-hmm. And personalities, and bands would go by with records and leave it.
Sure, they would.
And say, and they would listen to it. If they thought it was good, they play it. So,
and that's just was the key. Once you started getting played on the radio, you could get a local following, and then like you said, those DJs were friends. They would talk, and a DJ would call another DJ in another town and say, "Hey, man, you need to play this record by this band from our town." But and the word started spreading. The next thing you know, you're getting played on the radio, and then you're off and running.
Well, you got a regional hit, and all of a sudden, a record company picks you up.
Yeah.
And so,
like I said, I was born in 64, so I was really a product of FM radio by the time I was but I just remember, from the time I was about 10 years old, I mean, I'd listen to the radio, and you know how it was. If there was a real popular song, Larry, it was on rotation, and I'd listen to the radio waiting to hear a certain song over and over.
One of my best friends was one of the biggest stations in Atlanta in the 70s, and he would do the night shift. And he would tell me stories. I mean, these guys worked hours, kind of like you do. You do a lot. And man, he would go in and spin records, and he'd bring home promotional copies. He'd say, "I got this in. It was on my desk when I got in, and I'm going to play a cut." They pick a cut and start pushing it. And, and album cuts were big then. You could start doing album cuts, and then it all of a sudden would be a hit. So.
Yep. All right, well, let's get Bryce on with you. Chase, go ahead and punch Bryce through with Larry.
Good morning, Bryce.
Hey, good morning, Larry. Hope you're doing well.
Well, Bryce, if I talk loud, I'm hard of hearing in many years of Marshall amps and Fender amps. Sometimes I can't quite. It don't come through all the way, and if I stall a little bit, it's because I can't hear. So. But go ahead. What you got for me?
Georgia. I'm going to South Georgia. I'm going to be going through Macon tomorrow. Going to see a friend of mine that lives down around Swainsboro, Georgia.
Bryce, if you can stop in and have lunch at H&H and maybe go over to the big house. I don't know what the schedule is. I think it'd really amaze you to see what they've done with the big house as far as the museum. In the music history there.
I might see if I can do that. Yeah. But, I'm going to be leaving in the morning going to see my friend. He's 89. He'll be 89 Friday, and he's not doing too well. And I'm going to go down there and see him,
Well, bless him. He's lived a good life, man. 89. I hope I can go that far.
Yeah, and I think that he's not going to be around too much longer. He's got the dementia, and the one that treats your brain. And I wanted to see him one last time. We've been friends for a long time.
My guitar player, a long-time guitar player, went out like that, and I walked in 2 weeks before he died. And he raised up the bed and says, "You ready to go to Rock Island, Illinois?" That was 1970. He remembered everything.
Wow.
It's amazing. Wow. Yeah. And they said he's the first time he spoke to anybody when you walked in the room, because we spent 50-something years together.
He's a big Georgia fan, so I was with him.
Well, you got to love him. You got to love him.
Right. I was traveling with him when they won their first one with Herschel. And I didn't mind them winning one, but two, I'm kind of scratching my head. And I know I didn't want them to win three.
Them people are so entitled. They don't realize how many times they've lost to Alabama. They act like they've been a dynasty. Like they're supposed to win.
Yeah.
I swear, and I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends that went to university that was alumni. And that.
Well, Bryce, are you going to try to get by the big house and H&H?
I'm going to do my best.
Yeah.
Bryce, you're not far from the big house. Anybody can tell you how to get there. Those people are real nice, and they welcome people coming in to Macon to visit all these places. You really need to try to if you can.
And
is it H&H restaurant? Is it just H&H restaurant or what?
Yes, sir. It's right downtown, H&H restaurant.
And if you do, make sure you call in and give us a report.
Look that up tomorrow.
Yeah. Give us a report on your visit. So appreciate you, Bryce. We're going to try to get one more call on.
One last thing.
Oh, go ahead.
One last thing. Has Philip said anything about his Auburn Tigers lately? You know, he was the one that jumped up there and said Auburn's going to surprise a lot of people. They have surprised their fans.
Well,
just last week, didn't they?
Yeah, they surprised their fan base with that loss. That's for sure, Bryce. So, all right, appreciate you, man.
We got to get Philip on there and question him.
All right, I'll do it. I'll do it. He called in earlier, but I'll ask him about his Auburn pick.
I know I heard him.
Thank you, Bryce. Bye. All right, Bryce, appreciate that. Yeah, Larry, Bryce doesn't anybody says anything good about Auburn, he doesn't like it. All right,
I know. I'm picking up on that.
Yeah, punch Tom through real quick. All right, Tom, good morning.
Hey, Larry. Hey, Gary. How are y'all this morning?
Doing great.
Tom, I'm going to start calling you the sheriff. You try to keep everybody straight all day on these shows, starting with Wimp.
Hey, Larry, somebody's got to. I mean, I can't let them get by with some of this stuff they try to get by with. You know what I mean?
Man, I love it. I got
to throw the checkered flag on them.
Well, he does. All right, Tom, what you got?
I wanted to ask Larry, I don't know if you remember this or not, WVOK radio, AM radio out of Birmingham. Do you remember them?
Yes, sir. I remember that because we played over there, and I couldn't get it, of course, but that was a big station there, and we would listen to it when we were in Alabama because we played a lot in Alabama.
Right. Well, back when I was growing up in the late 50s, early 60s, they would have these concerts in Birmingham. They called them, it started out the Battle of the Bands. And they had the Battle of the Bands with the Beach Boys versus Rolling Stones at Legion Field. And I was too young. My brother and his girlfriend went, and my mother wouldn't let me go because she said I was too young. And then that morphed into other concerts. They had what they call the Shower Stars. That's right. That morphed into, and they left Legion Field and went to Boutwell Auditorium. And that's where they held that. People like Lou Christie, Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs.
The Turtles, Tommy James and the Chantel.
Yeah, and the Animals. Oh, my God, the Animals. And
see, BAM Radio did the same thing. They called it something else. That's the one I was familiar with.
I remember that. I remember it.
We played on a show way down in the bottom of it just to get exposure. Didn't even get paid because we were playing over there anyway. And, man, they had the Buckinghams. Like I said, Gary Puckett, Grassroots. Yeah, the Grassroots.
Good stuff. Hey guys, listen, man. Time flies when you're having fun.
Okay, whatever. I wasn't through.
All right. Well, you got to go fast, Tom. I got to get the segment wrapped up, dude.
Okay, I'll call next week.
All right, I appreciate you. I'm sorry. It's just it is what it is. I'm under restraints.
We need an hour.
Yeah, we may have to do. I may have to do a podcast with Larry. Maybe we'll work on that. Thank you.
Hey, yeah, we're getting somewhere.
Gary.
Yeah, we may work on that. Larry, great stuff as always, man. We appreciate you.
Keep those intro songs coming. I love it.
We will, but we're going to go Wednesday.
Get me in the mood. Okay.
We're gonna move you to Wednesday permanently so I can be in studio and we can handle all these phone calls.
Or call
800-518-1409. That's 800-518-1409.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy today. Rain moving in by afternoon. The high 81. Becoming windy tonight. Cloudy with periods of rain. Maybe a few thunderstorms through tomorrow. Rain can be heavy at times. The low tonight 66. The high tomorrow 75. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Find Tide on Twitter @Tide109 to keep up with show announcements, guests, and our reporters in the field.
Orlando Ledbetter. So a lot to look forward to tomorrow. Then Friday, I'm back live as part of Fridays at the Free with the Gary Harris Show and T-Town Sports Daily. So going to be a great week. Glad you can be with us today. Catch me on TV tonight with your local sports on WVUA 23. For Chase Brumfeld, I'm Gary Harris. This has been the Gary Harris Show. Talk to you again in the morning at 9 a.m. Have a great